Okay, so we're at the context video. So the goal here is to do two things. Number one, to explain what it is that the question is asking you. And then two, to be able to actually explain what feudalism is. So as far as for the question goes, how is feudalism a political and economic response to conditions in medieval Europe? You have the definitions for the key terms in here already. So the goal is to identify or to figure out, number one, what were the actual conditions in medieval Europe at the time. So what was it like living there? And then number two, what was the response to those conditions? And how did that relate to political and politics and economics? So like politics being like the structures of power, so like who's in charge, who makes what decisions. Then economic is how money is made and how it transfers between hands and stuff. So that's the question. To talk about the actual system, you'll see that there's a handy-dandy little like image given to you on this slide. And this is like the basics of feudalism. So first I'll address that like the picture. So you have the king up at the top. So the whole idea of feudalism is it's basically like a pyramid shape, where at the very tippity top you have the king, right? And the king, by definition, owns all of the land, right? It starts with him having all the land. What ends up happening is the whole system of feudalism is a give and take. So the king gives land to nobles, right? Rich people. In return, the nobles give the king money. First off, money being super important. It's money. It's what everyone is always after. But two, they give knights, which, you know, the dudes with swords and shields on horseback that fight. So land, and in return, money and knights. From there, the nobles who just got a ton of land give some of their land to their knights, okay? And in response, these knights give each of their nobles protection and military service. So basically, it's like, hey, you're going to do what I say and fight who I say to fight. In response, here's a bunch of land. And then lastly, there are the peasants, which are below the knights. And the peasants work the land for the knights and nobles. They like make the crops. They do all the things that like make something actually function. And in response, they're given land and protection. So that's the like core system, right? That's how it works. And a lot of it is involving like pledging of loyalty, which we'll talk about tomorrow. But to address that like little blurb right above it, where land equals money equals power, as we can see playing out in this pyramid, the king starts with all the land, and the things that he gets in response to that is money, right? If you have land, you can make money off of it. And when you have more money, you can pay people to do things. You can buy things, and that leads to power when you have tons and tons of money. So that's how it kind of works. Now, you might already be thinking like ways that this is positive or negative. I want you to try to look at the perspective of each part of it, right? Who's benefiting the most from here? Who is benefiting the least? What are some problems that could come up with the system? What is one way that maybe the system works well? And you might have different answers for that depending on your viewpoint. But that's the core of it. You'll have a couple sources. Let me just like quick fact check. 1, 2, 3 sources, and then your question. So the sources will be talking about like what's going on in Europe at the time and thinking about, well, if this is what's going on, why would this system then make sense? So reach out if you have questions. Good luck. You got this.